Hey, what's up guys? Duff Designs here. Today I'm doing another video, taking a look at another one of my subscribers' courses. Today we are looking at Golfbane F Lokrim. I feel like this is supposed to be something in a different language that I don't that I don't know. But let's go ahead and get right into here. Look at some of the course details real quick. Got a little bit of a long one here. Actually, it's not really not that long, actually 69. I still don't understand why this is still in the game, why it still shows this yardage, and these are the actual yardages. I still don't understand this. They need to fix this. Other than that, we got a par 71. Green speeds are normal, medium, fast. Okay. Alright. Let's get into here. Not going to spend too much time waiting around today. Sorry again for taking so long on content. I've just been really busy. With real life stuff. Sure some of you know, but I do golf course construction in the real world. That's my day job. Been working at a lot of cool places. Actually been working at the National a good bit recently. Been a lot of fun hanging out at the National for the past 6-7 months. Let's see if we can go ahead and get up here. Take a little bit to get these little flying controls down. We got a good old little island course. Love island courses. They're always, I would say, out of all the types of courses, island courses are the easiest to make look good. Because you usually don't have to worry too much about any of that. It's just ocean. So it's really just a matter of decorating your cliff sides and the little bit of dead area that you'll have on these islands. I'm personally a big fan of island courses. Got some little spots up here and there. Looks like pretty basic golf course layout. Nothing super fancy going around. We got a couple of mulch beds here and there. Got some different sized bunkers kind of scattered around. That looks pretty good. I mean, I feel like it is missing a little bit of flair. Maybe some grass in some areas. I don't know, it just feels a little bit bare with these big, huge empty areas. But it's not bad by any means. Just needs a little bit more flair. Do like cliff sides. I like it when people put rocks in their cliff sides for the most part, just because I've seen so many cliffs that are just this texture over the years that they just get really old. There's a lot of cool things you can do to decorate your cliffs. Obviously, if you're full on memory, you don't have to do cliffs, but something pretty important to do, especially I would say in this area right here, because this is a visual for people hitting down, or actually from up here, yeah, it'd still be a visual for people from here and here from this tee. But let's take a look at this. So we got like a little castle here. Looks like a little clubhouse. You'd probably come in on boat to chill at. Not too much really going on here in terms of like all the houses and decoration. I do like this little area, what you did here. Really nice. The only thing I don't like when people do houses is, I mean, you can tell it's like the only thing on this island right here. There's nothing else out here, over here. There's nothing kind of scattered around. I also don't believe we have a driving range or a chipping and putting area, which is always something really nice just to have on your course. Even if, especially if you're on an island course, like just imagine coming out to the island course, but you had to hit at a driving range all the way here on different islands. Also, just no putting green. But nothing that makes or breaks a course, just little nice additions people like to see. That's a nice little maintenance shed there. I will say, being somebody who has worked in maintenance before, I do like to go a little overboard in my maintenance areas and like to make sure there's roads and places to park, make sure there's all kinds of cart parking, little mulch beds and sand mounds and all that fun stuff. But enough shitting around. Let's go ahead and get into the course, take a look at everything. Alright. Got some basic rock planning. Rocks are a little high. I would like to see them a little bit more depressed so they don't get in the way of line of sight or anything. Other than that, pretty simple little first hole. I don't know how I feel about this being separated. I feel like you could have connected this, made a little thin spot right here for people's balls to roll up, because you really aren't getting any advantage coming over here. You've probably got the advantage over here chipping in, because you've got so much more length to chip into compared to over here where it's really, really tight and shallow with your landing area. So there really isn't any advantage going over here at all. So yeah, I do think a little bit of fairway right there would have done nice. But this is all subjective stuff. Nothing big. Ah, there's some of that grass I was talking about. That's nice. It's kind of what I was looking for. I bet you there is grass all over the course. I bet I was just so far zoomed out that I couldn't see any of the grass, because that's just how this game works. Also, just notice your little yardage markers. Very nice. It is kind of weird that they are kind of facing this direction, everything. I would like to see a number on both sides, would be really cool. Have a 2 here and a 2 on the other side, so people coming from this hole know what they're walking up to. In terms of your green, not a bad green. I don't really like this bottom movement right here. It's kind of funky. But other than that, I do like it for the most part. Now, the question is, if a ball is right here, are you going to be able to get down to here? Probably not. It looks like you'd probably come out and it'd come straight down to here. That's one thing I always like to keep in mind when you do have sections of greens that you can't putt to. I like to make sure that the break will allow you to get around those areas so that it's still always puttable. It's just weird having to chip off of a green, and it's a maintenance nightmare when people have to chip off of greens. Seems like our greens are going to be pretty flat and end with the ground, which I do not mind at all. Get out of the push-up style of greens. Dang, rolled out pretty dang far right there. Wasn't expecting that. Also, haven't played the game in a little bit. As I said, I've been just too busy with work to really get on and do too much. I haven't even been editing my own course. It's been on hold for quite a while now. Ever since I put out Barren Point like 4 or 5 months ago, my course is just kind of slowly inching along. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm not even happy with it anymore, but I just got to put it out because it's just been too much time. Alright. I don't mind this. It feels a little bit out of place though, just because of the density of trees in this little bit right here, but I don't mind it. Just feels like this is a little too dense. Like, I mean, if you would have trees growing over here, why would they cut all these trees down but then just leave this little thin row? I mean, if you're going to block off the corner, they would just leave all the trees out here. Or with these planted trees by the architect 30, 40 years ago that grew up over time. Just a question there. Do you like your bunkers? Not much to complain about these so far. They're pretty nice little basic shapes. Fairly flat, not really a whole bunch going on in terms of lips, but I do like that you still do have that little lip raise on the backs. Something very important to have. Do like this one. It's a bit of a hero shot, trying to cut the corner or even cut the trees if you're really brave, which I might just do because of this wind behind me. But I do like holes like this where it comes and it cuts across, so it makes people like me who are going for it roll through the fairway like this. Makes it a lot harder to hold the fairway on those go-for shots. I like the idea here having a sloping away green on a par 5. The only thing that kind of worries me is this bunker down here. If you end up in this bunker, getting up and down to a pin, say right here, it's going to be impossible to really anything right here. I'm not even... you would have to really, really hit a great shot to get it to hold on this pin. You'd have to land it up here on the rough or just barely on. I think even barely on you'd go off because of the height right here. Such a large height difference. About 10 feet. That's my only thing. I would, if I were to say anything, I would remove this, and instead of making it a mound, I'd make it a depression so that people coming in out of the bunker have a slope to hit into to stop their balls. That's something that I've always tried to keep in mind. Is I heard it from some designer a while ago. It was probably Arctic Fury, honestly. saying that you always want to allow your players to be able to get up and down if they hit a good shot. Now, you probably could if you hit a great shot here. I just feel it's a little too punishing to any pin over here, which I'm sure you have some pins over here. Also, just wanted to talk about the green shape. It's just a very odd shape for a green. I mean, usually you like big, long, smooth edges. Just kind of a bit of an odd shape for a green. Like this little bit here kind of feels pointless. You kind of got to catch here. I don't know. It just feels like there isn't much rhyme or reason to the shape of the green. It's just kind of, you just came up here and plopped a shape down that felt okay. Usually want to have areas that are like meant for people to have easy shots into, meant for people to have hard shots, which I mean, you guess you could do on a style of green like this, but it's just not my cup of tea, I guess. Doesn't mean it's bad though. Alright, let's see how bad we can mess this one up. It will be right in that sand. Oh, not quite in the sand. Heavy rough though. Yeah, that's about what I have to do. Get it in that rough and let it just roll up on. Oop. One thing I don't like, they got that ball that I'm using or whatever with the big, I think it's a Tour Response TaylorMade or something. It's got the big yellow all the way around. They don't actually line it up with the hole when you putt, which is just a little pet peeve. I'll say, so far we've had a bunch of smooth-sided bunkers, and now we get a jagged one, kinda out of left field. Not a big thing to complain about, but I don't like how this flows with these smooth edges you got over here. Then you got this little jaggedness. Don't mind the trees at all. I think the trees are a nice touch in here. I think the dead trees are a good choice. I think people will put these trees in places like this, these big ones with a lot of flora on them, which I think is just a mistake because you're already getting punished by being the bunker. I mean, you're going to punish your player twice as much by having some big, huge trees right here. I think these are still enough to be a punishment, but still get around and play your shots. I mean, it's also a short par 4, so little uphill shot. I do like the fairways. I will say they haven't made me think too much yet. They've been pretty simple for the most part. There's no slopes in the fairways, no really. I mean, there was a go-for shot a couple holes ago, but other than that, not much. Well, let's take a look at this. Now, this is kind of odd right here. This is what I was meaning by, like, kind of think about your green shapes and why you have areas. I think you're trying to use this as a catch for balls to roll back. But it's really, really odd. I mean, nobody's really going to be aiming for this little area up here. I mean, it can feed you back, it looks like, kind of close to the hole, but this is going to be more like an accidental thing for most people to end up hitting into. I feel like if you just would have brought this over all the way right here and just had this sloped feeding balls down, it would have done the same thing without having this weird, like, little tumor on the side of the green right here. I mean, if you are going to have areas like this, a lot of times architects, when they do have areas that are kind of on the side of the green tacked on, it's usually going to be a pinnable location, and obviously none of that is pinnable with how yellow it is. Also, I've never been a fan of slopes that carry you into heavy rough. It's never really been a thing of mine. I like, if you're going to carry somebody off the green, I like to carry them off the green to a chipping area, a designated chipping area. I mean, I know some architects do like putting people into heavy rough like this, but I feel like it's a little bit unfair when you could end up being from a foot or two away from the pin to all of a sudden you're down in the heavy rough chipping. It's just kind of sad. Other than that, green's not bad. It's not my favorite green for sure. Actually, out of the ones we've looked at so far, it's probably my least favorite. Those two red slopes, along with the awkward shape. I think the only thing that's really making this awkward is this back little portion back here. But I do like that your greens are flat. You do have designated areas for like balls to roll around on. You got a little helper slope. You got a little herder slope up here. So you're definitely not under-characterizing your greens. You've got enough movement, enough character in here to keep them interesting. Alright. Big old par 3. Ooh, that's a lot of red. A lot of red. I always try to keep my red down on greens, but it doesn't seem like this is going to be too bad. It doesn't seem like it's really going to mess with anything. This is probably an okay red slope. I don't know. I feel like with a green this big, you've got so much space to work with this green. This is huge. And we got this whole area which its only character is it's got movement going this way. And then we got this whole area that it has some character up here, but there's really nothing going on in the rest of this, which isn't always a bad thing. I just feel like this green is a little bit too bland, which is weird saying with how much red it's got. I just feel like there's more character and more things you could have done with this green in terms of having designated areas for stuff. And again, the greens movement kind of just feels random. Like, I mean, you just got this random little cutout right here, which doesn't really feel like it serves any purpose other than like a movement line. Yeah. Other than that, the surrounds are nice. I really like how you put your plants in the crevices of the rocks like this to make it actually look like they are growing out. A lot of people will just slap them on, and you definitely did put a lot of time into placing all these rocks. I will say, no, I think you used multiple types of rock, but I can't 100% tell you. This is definitely a different one than this one. Just make sure you always use 2 to 3 different types of rocks. Sometimes adding another color in here makes it pop because it looks like these ones you used are majority the same color other than this slightly green rock you got here. Would have been nice to have a little bit of a whiter rock somewhere in here a little bit. But it's definitely not bad. I really like how you present it. It's very viewable from the tee box despite how many rocks are around. I'm also a person, I don't like having rocks near my play, near where players are going to land, because it adds so much randomness to shots. Because, I mean, you miss a shot a little bit, you're going to hit a rock, and there's no telling where you're going to go. So I usually try to avoid rocks anywhere near greens or areas where my players are going to be landing their shots, just because of that reason. So I've played enough rounds with my friends who are not good at the game to know that they will hit bad shots, they will hit the rocks, and people will get frustrated from hitting the rocks. I'm actually kind of curious as to how you did these real quick. Ugh. That's really nice. You added a little bit of touch onto these with the little plant bush there, like the little 2K thing. I actually have not seen this rock wall in particular. This must be one of the newer ones. Haven't really checked that one out. But I do like it. I don't know if it was because of me directly, but a lot of the courses that I have been looking at now have these number holes, which I was talking about, or these number signs I was talking about in one of my other videos. It's really nice to see them. I mean, they're just a nice little touch to have on the course. Alright, looks like we got a fairway with some character here. A little bit of thought going into this one. So this is helping you feed on this way. It's kind of like a funnel hole. You just got to hit the fairway and you're going to stay in it. I don't really like things like this. Like this little bit of fairway almost seems pointless. Like nobody's really going to ever be here unless you fly it onto this and then get a kick down. I feel like, I don't know. Either remove this part right here or remove this part. Connect it up either here or connect this up either here. I just don't really like how that little bit of fairway is. And I'm a fan of small bits of fairways as well. Just like them to have a lot of purpose to them. Like if you're going to have a small bit of fairway, I like to put people in that small bit of fairway. Like if this would have been a depression, almost like a bowl to grab people and kind of curl them down into here, I would have really liked that. But with it being a kicker slope down, and not too many people are really going to be landing out here unless you really, really can muscle one with the higher classes. Also, again, I feel like we're kind of having that, there's just a little bit of no rhyme or reason to some of these movements out here. you want to have some rhyme and reason. I mean, you've got reason here, you got a bunker here, you got a bunker here, so it's moving around that. Once you get up to here, it's just kind of like you just wanted to add something in here, so you just started moving it. Where, like, if I would have done this right here personally, I would have brought it up with a cliff edge, and kept that character moving with this cliff edge to give it some reason to it. Like this side over here, I think is fine. Moves up, kind of comes up against this little slope right here. It feeds on down and connects up with these bunkers and then up to the green. I feel like there's a lot of reason right here. Bunkers are visible from the tee, so I do like that. This is one thing I was kind of scared of. This bunker right here is a nice visual bunker with this big old slope right here and this big catch back here. But it's completely blocked out by this other bunker right here. I feel like if you would have dropped this one down another 10 feet or so to make this bunker visible, this would have been... It's already a nice looking tee shot, but it would have been a really nice looking tee shot with this lower bunker right here that's really, really dangerous, and then this further out large bunker that you want to avoid. It will play, John. Alright, got a basic green shape here, nothing wrong with that. I'll go ahead and say this again, I've mentioned this in a lot of my other videos. I have moved away from this type of fairway into fringe just because I've never been a fan of it. I think it brings a lot of problems for newer designers, and it just can look a little bit ugly sometimes. I've started to get rid of this fringe on the green and use fairway as a secondary surface instead. So when you use fairway as a secondary surface, it auto-connects this line all the way around. So you have a clean bit of fairway all the way around. And then you add on this little bit of light rough around that fairway. You can't do a third surface, obviously, so you have to come in here and manually put in the rough. But I think it's a lot nicer than having, okay, I rolled off the green, I'm in the heavy rough now. Whereas everywhere else, you roll off the fairway and you're in light rough, so it's not too bad. I would either do that or make your secondary surface around the green be a light rough and keep the fringe. That's just me personally. I've been moving away from the fringe. Just I'm not too much of a fan of it anymore. I do like this little depression over here. It's not a lot, just enough to kind of carry those balls down a little bit and hold them down here, give them a little bit of a difficult shot, but not too difficult. The only thing I'm kind of scared of is if you miss over here and you're hitting to a pin down here, are you going to be able to hold the green? Just something to keep in mind for when you play test. You always want to make sure you're play testing from all the angles to all the pins, because a pin down here, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to hold it from anywhere on the back side of this green. Which, it's okay to have stuff like that every now and again, but if it becomes a problem where there's just miss areas, where if you miss over here, you're just dead every single time on a lot of greens, it can be very, very frustrating to play a course like that. But in terms of this green, I think it's pretty dang good. Not really too much going on. This is what I was talking about, though, with the cliff decorations. You need something on that cliff side right there, like how you've got the rocks over here, down here. I mean, this is beautiful. This is a lot of nice rock work. I feel like if you just expanded a lot of that rock work to your cliff edges, it would have been even nicer. Like, I mean, this is a problem with cliff edges in this game. When you get them to this point where they're so vertical like this, the textures, they stretch out and they look really, really weird. I mean, this is just not really what you want. I mean, it's still cool to have a cliff edge like this or whatever, but you got to have some rocks, some foliage like we've seen on the other holes back here on these areas. I mean, you don't have to do the whole cliff edge around the whole place. You want to do the visual areas, the places people are going to see, the places people are going to be next to. You don't have to do everywhere. Putter on up there. Not too bad. Alright. R4 with a little break. Looks like if you lay up, you're going to have to be hitting a blind shot. It's a bit of a tough one. I think, personally, I would have liked to see the landing zone be right here. instead of back here. I feel like you are going to have to muscle it to get it to anywhere where you're really meant to land the ball. I understand having a clean layup area, but that would have been fine with a 3-wood if driver would have been landing up here. I feel like your driver landing up here gives you an area to land in right here, a harder area to land in right here, and a really, really hard one for anybody who's trying to get that extra distance out of it. Now, to combat people landing right here in this fatter area, you could have either slapped a bunker up in this top corner. You could have made this a fall off, like a low spot in the fairway. So if people are coming up here, their ball's going to ride down into this low spot. Not a super big punishment, but it's enough to get the people's ball away from the hole just a little bit further. Just my thoughts on it. Ooh. I like those bunkers being visible from this tee. I like that. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna be able to. Oh, not if I hit it slow. Muscle it on down there a little bit. Now I want to talk about that grass you're using. I don't think that's the best grass texture you could have used. I think it blends in a little too well with your surrounds out here. And I think this is just the blue flower grass. It looks like you've actually got, oh my god, this is probably where all your memory went. It looks like you've got 3 different types of grass in here. You do not need 3 types of grass. The main reason why you don't need 3 types of grass, it is going to kill your memory. This takes up so much memory to do 3 different types of grass in one area, let alone doing it all over the whole course. That's why 99% of designers you see just use 1 type of grass, because this game, you just don't have enough space to do that. I mean, that's why you've got so much blank area out here that you just have nothing in. Like, it would have been nice to see some grass up on these higher mounds up here in this area, but you probably ran out of space because you just used so much grass like that. I do like this green, very punishing for anybody who actually ends up in a bunker. I like that a lot. This green I like for the most part. Only thing is, I would have liked to see a pin up here, but I don't think you can put a pin here with the slopes you've got. Would have loved to see a pin tucked into this little back corner back here. Dangerous of this bunker, but a lot of area short to land in. Other than that, this is a pretty good green. I mean, you've actually got a good shape here. You've got reason to hit up here. Catch, you got reason to hit down here, pin, and then catch. And then over here, you got to catch and then pin. I mean, this is a nice green. I mean, this little indent right here would be perfect for a pin down in here. Really dangerous because of this bunker. Let's get a little bit flat in the center, but that's not bad. Not bad at all. Smack it on up there. Oh no. That's not the side you want to miss on for this flag. See if I can get this thing to stop. Yep. Nice and stop. Alright, this seemed like the signature hole. Alright, taking a look at the green shape. I like this green shape. This is very characteristic, but it's a good characteristic. As you can see, it matches with your surrounds very well right here. I mean, you've got this little cut-in spot to match in with this big rock that kind of cuts in right here. You got this big cut in. This one doesn't make too much of a sense, but it's okay. I'll let that slide right there. And really nice contour with this little edge right here up onto a walk up. I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about with, you want it to kind of flow with your surrounds and be characteristic. This is a good green. Now, the one thing I'll say is, not looking at the shape, is you've got a lot of area up here that's just yellow. And I would have loved to see a top tier up here somewhere. But at the same time, I kind of see why you did it, because if a ball ends up here, how are you going to putt down to a pin down here? With this big slope, you are carrying any shots that land up here down further, I hope. Now, the yellow may not be quite strong enough to keep shots coming in. They may still stop up here for the most part. But personally, if I would have had this green, I would have just done a actual little tier up here. I would have had some break that would have allowed my ball to come down and around here if I'm up on this top tier, which it seems like you do kind of do. There is some break bringing balls back down, but I think this is just a little bit too right to left, keeping everything breaking over this way too hard to be able to actually funnel down to here. And other than that, I think this area may be a tad bit too flat. Maybe just a little bit more movement down there, but other than that, good green. Very hard hole, honestly. Actually, that's something I'm a little curious about. Okay, that's a bit of a no-no. You've only got one tee box here. On a scenic hole like this, you definitely want multiple tee boxes. Not just because you want people hitting from different areas. More tee boxes on your hole add a very visual aspect to your hole. That's why a lot of courses have really nice tee boxes. Because you'll have one here, you'll have another really nice one down here. It's more eye candy, more stuff to look at. When you've got everybody shoved into one tee box, I mean, there's not a lot to look at, and I mean, it's not a real golf course anymore because it's just one tee, so it loses a lot of that realistic aspect to the course. Which I mean, we're on an island anyway, so I mean, it doesn't have that much realism anymore. But you always want to have multiple tee boxes, especially if you're going to be doing multiple sets of tees. I know a lot of new designers get lazy and they won't put all that stuff on there. All those extra tee boxes, so they'll just have one gold tee or one blue tee to hit from. But I think you look experienced enough with how you're building your stuff to do multiple tee boxes and have no problem with it. And again, with the rock side, I mean, the cliff side, you did put some decoration in here. This is kind of what I was talking about with you just need some cliff decorations. I mean, this would be a beautiful hole if you decorated all these cliffs with rocks and plants and stuff. It'd be absolutely stunning. I mean, it's already beautiful from the tee box, but now that I'm looking at it from down here, I mean, you just got a random little splotch of rocks here and a random little bit here. All this is just kind of doing its own thing for the most part. Not bad by any means. I will say this course is very nice. I don't know how experienced you are exactly, but this is a nice course. Very enjoyable. I will say your fairways have been very flat for the most part. There really hasn't been much going on in your fairways, which is something I would keep in mind. I mean, there's a little bit there, but I mean, it's nothing to think about. I mean, for the most part with your fairways, you're just hitting it into the fairway. I mean, if you hit it into the fairway, you're 99% of the time you're going to be okay. I usually like to put some contours and some movement into my fairways to give people reasons to hit to certain parts of the fairway. Otherwise, I mean, this one's just a humongous landing area, unless I really want that extra 10-15 yards to get down to there. Which I don't think I'm going to take the chance. Still hit it over 300. Even on such a bad shot like that. Alright, this green here, taking a look at it. Not a bad green. It is a little bit weird. It feels a lot smaller than the other greens that we've seen so far. This is what I was talking about with your roll-off areas feeding down into fairway. I like it when these areas like this are feeding into an area that you can actually chip from, instead of just putting you into heavy rough. Other than that, I mean, it's not a bad green, but it's not my favorite. It just feels a little too small. Yeah, just a little bit too small for my liking. Keep in mind, I've said this before in some of my videos, but everything in design is subjective. So something that I like, somebody else may love. Something that I hate, something that I hate, somebody else might love. Something that I like, somebody else might hate. I mean, everything with design is kind of up in the air. It's just there are certain guidelines you do want to follow by for the most part. Things that are generally accepted by a majority of people to be proper design. That's why certain things like having humongous red slopes on your green, while some people may like humongous red slopes on greens, for the most part, it's usually not something you like. Now this one, let's see what we got here. Short par 4. It's okay to have a lot of movement on a green on a short par 4 most of the time because you want to have some difficulty for people chipping in. I really like this bunker. This is probably my favorite bunker I've seen in your course so far. I really like this raised back edge to an upper tier almost. And then the second bunker over here almost feels like a throwaway bunker in a way. Like it doesn't even... I mean, it kind of fits in, but I feel like if you would have done this bunker bigger and had it kind of flow out into this area somewhere over here, having all this full backed up to these plants, I feel like that would have fit this area a lot more because I feel like a lot of people are going to end up over here. Going for this shot, they're going to hit this slope and kick down into here. I feel like that bunker right there, if you would have made this bigger, would have been a great way to bottleneck your players instead of just having a bailout into the heavy rough. And the other side, I mean, it doesn't really look like you ever really have a reason to go for the other side. You can't even inch it up on the green, so why go for this when you could just lay up at that point? And I've got the wind in my face, so there's really no reason for me to try to go for it. Oh, and there's that grass again. See, that's what I mean by the grass texture really isn't the best. If it takes me that much to really notice it, then it's probably not the best. And I mean, you can kind of see how it looks from this far. It doesn't blend in super well. And I mean, look at this. You see how far out I am right now? I'm only a 100-something yards out, and I can't even see it. This is something, as a designer, you have to be careful of. A lot of the grasses in this game don't load in from over like 150 yards. There are certain grasses that load in up to like 300 yards or so. Those are the grasses you usually want to use. Otherwise, you have to single plant all of your grass to make it visible from the tee boxes, which is extremely annoying to do. It takes so much time. Because, I mean, as you see, as I start zooming in and out here, I mean, this grass disappears very, very quickly. Like, you're not going to see most of this grass from any distance at all. And it's a shame because you use 3 different types of grasses, use up so much memory, and this is just not really being that used for the most part. I mean, you can see it sometimes, but most of the time, no. I mean, that's why I missed it on my flyover when I was checking out the courses, because it's just you have to be basically right up on those types of grasses. There is a brown grass on page 4 of the grasses. I use that one a majority of the time. I used it in my course Barren Point. That grass, while it does look a little dead, it loads the furthest as a multi-plant. Like, you multi-plant that grass, it loads the furthest of any other grass in the game. Now, if you want to use whatever grass type you want, you probably need to single plant, which is extremely annoying. It takes so much time, but single planting is just something you have to do every now and again. Now, we got some extremely characteristic bunkers kind of out of left field here. I would have liked to see some more of these. This is actually pretty interesting here. But it doesn't... I haven't really seen too many other bunkers with fingers on them. I really like this little catch zone you've got here, but I don't really like this. I feel like this is like a finger trying to come out, but it never really grew in. It just kind of stopped there. I feel like if you would have kept these bubble characteristics with these two sides and made this into a bubble right here and had a finger coming out, this would have been a beautiful bunker. I mean, it's already a good bunker for the most part, but this little part right here is kind of killing it. Bunker back here, got some more fingers here, and then this huge area right here. I feel like if you're going to do some fingers, you might as well bring the fingers into the bottom sides of the bunkers as well, just to keep that characteristic flowing. Very drivable hole. I like the shape of this green a lot. It's a little bit big, but we'll excuse that. I do like the mound. I don't really like having green on top of mounds, though, like this, because it's just really awkward when your ball sits up here. I feel like when you're going to have a mound, I mean, the purpose of a mound is to kick the ball off. Why would you have it stop on top of the mound, you know? That's just something that I've learned and tried to avoid over the years, just because I just hate it when balls sit on top of mounds like this. I mean, the mound isn't there to keep the ball on top. It's there to kick it off, so it's not really serving its purpose when it has a big green area up here. But I do like how it is a separator, kicking balls off left and right. I feel like this, you see how it kind of bulges out like this? I feel like you could have done better with just a straight line right here, Because the way that it bulges out, I mean, if you land into this slope, it's kicking you off the green. If you're landing into this one, it's kicking you off the green, which kind of, I feel like, defeats the purpose of why you put this here, to feed balls down into here and to feed balls up into here. But let's go ahead and see how it drives. Yeah, so number 10, done with the front 9. Get our little shot up onto that green. Now we got to putt over that mound. Pretty menacing. Again, I don't really like areas like this. I feel like if you would have made a big little section of fairway right here that would take the balls off and down to a lower spot, that would have been really, really nice. Because I mean, this right here, I mean, it's just putting you in heavy rough. It's just plain as simple as that. Ooh, underpowered like crazy. Alright, it's a little bit too much. Alright, here. See, this is what I was talking about. Like, this is better use of your grass. Kind of by play, where people are going to see it. This is some good grass usage. And you can see here again, pay attention to this little section of grass right here. As I'm kind of moving my camera, you see how it loads in and out. I'm not that far away from this grass. I mean, you can also see, I mean, it's kind of hard to look down this far, but you can see that I can't see any of this grass until I get kind of up on this inspect shot. So that just comes with picking the right type of grass, which I was going to make a video where I went over every type of grass in the game and showed how far they could load in. But, I mean, just the massive scale of doing that takes so much time and effort that I just ended up backing out on it. Because I just have too much other stuff to do right now. Alright. Okay, we got another small green here, which I feel like keeping your green sizes fairly consistent is a big thing. I mean, you can see how much smaller this one is compared to the absolutely ginormous last green we had. Your bunkers are getting more creative, and I'm liking these shapes of your bunkers as we're going further into your course. I mean, little stuff like this is really nice. All these small extra little curves in here. I do like this little force onto the green. It's something I've done before. I like it when you can land one short and just kind of have it roll up and trickle on. I like this little kick out right here that's helping feeding balls on. This is kind of what I meant by you need some purpose to these little areas that kind of stick out of your green. Like, this is very purposeful. I mean, it has a reason to be here. It's helping people back onto the green. The only thing I'll say about this green is it's a little too flat. I like how you got some movement coming down here to a lower pin. I feel like maybe a tad bit more movement, not a lot, just a little bit feeding down into here. And then you can obviously tell, like, this whole area is just way too flat. I mean, there's just not a lot going on here. What happens when you have areas like this is you get ghost breaks in these areas where it looks flat when you have a putt most of the time, but there's going to be a tad bit of break in there moving you somewhere. That's why you always want a consistent break, either moving this way or this way or this way or this way. Like, you always want some very visible break, because when you get to these really, really flat areas, you get the ghost break, which, I mean, it'll look like a flat putt and then it'll break a quarter of an inch to the left, just enough to make you miss, which is very frustrating to anybody who's played this game for a long time. I'm sure everybody has had that happen to them at some point. Hitting a putt and then all of a sudden the putt moves when it doesn't say it's going to move. Ooh, almost landed that one in the hole.
That should do nicely.
Nice little birdie. And so far, the one thing I will say, this is a very easy course for the most part. I say as we come up to probably one of the hardest holes in the course, but for the most part, this has been a very easy one, especially your fairways. Your fairways are just, for the most part, easy to hit. I mean, they're simply easy to hit, very easy to navigate, which isn't bad. It's just, if you wanted a harder course, this is a very easy one. I still don't like this. 3 tees in 1 tee box. Add a tee box here, add a tee box here. put some rocks and some planting around here, and then you have a fully fleshed out hole. I feel like there's a big missed opportunity with having some tee boxes up here, down here, and then having some rock work leading up to this hole. I mean, you've got rock work all around the green. Might as well rock work the cliff up to tie in the entire hole together. Really like this bunker. I really like the idea of this lower shelf down here with this bunker. This right here, I'm kind of okay with this. This little bit of fairway right here, or green right here, I actually enjoy that. I think it's pretty nice. Same thing with this lower depression bunker. I mean, overall, I think this is a very nice little hole in terms of looks. Now let's see about playability. Green's pretty simple. Nothing's too special going on. Just two tiers. Yeah, not bad. I think we might run into another ghost break situation right here where it's a little too flat for its own good. Probably need a consistent back to front break in this green, honestly. Especially with it being so long. And I will say I don't like this right here. I mean, you got this little knoll coming out, and then you got this. Doesn't really feel like much rhyme or reason to this. I mean, you might as well have this whole thing be a red/orange moving down this way. I mean, you got this little bit moving over here, which doesn't take a second or two to add a little bit more of a mound on the back of the screen. But very nitpicky stuff. Otherwise, I mean, this is just a beautiful hole. Definitely a signature hole here. Let's go ahead and actually get my little screenshot here. I think that'll do good. And there we go. And let's hit our little shot. Be a tough one to stick, but I'm hitting a lot of perfects today for not playing in a pit. I am making progress on my list of courses. I've got about 3 more courses to do past this one, 2 or 3 more. As always, as I say in all my videos, if you have a course, drop it in the comments and I'll give it a try. I mean, at this point, I have done most of my content on reviewing things on the game editor itself, like slopes, water bodies, stuff like that. I've still got a couple more things that I could talk about, but for the most part, I've exhausted a lot of those. So this is probably going to be a majority of my content from this point on until I can figure out some more stuff to do. Which I do like these course reviews. I think it's helpful to you guys to actually see how people think when they play and look at your courses. Especially getting a little bit more of an eye from a designer's perspective, being a designer. I like this hole. Again with the cliff work, I mean, just need some more rocks. Looks like you finally got some in down there closer to the green. One thing I will say is this right here is just extremely out of place. It just kind of feels like this is just out of left field right here, these rocks. We haven't really had anything else like this, and at the same time, it's a little, I mean, it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look natural, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just so jagged and so all over the place. It just feels like somebody placed all these here. Like it wasn't like these were naturally all here. Whereas these cliff edges look a lot more natural with the way that the rocks flow and move with each other. I do like the heroic shot you got going on here. The one thing I will say is this is more of just a, if you can hit it far enough, you can hit it far enough shot. I feel like with heroic shots, you need to still have that aspect of you need to hit it to the right area. I mean, right here it's just so massive down here that it shouldn't be that hard to hit for the most part, as long as you can get it far enough. I say as I miss it.
Second shot on the 13th.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit more of a challenge on that shot would do it very nicely. Now this second shot coming into the green, this is a menace right here. This is a scary shot. Now, I do want to say I like having this right here. I think doing it again up here is a little overkill, especially in your layup area. Layup area is a layup. I mean, by putting this here, you're kind of punishing your players for laying up, making it very hard on them. And I also wanted to mention, I can tell this is the same rock over and over and over and over by this little crevice. Make sure you're rotating your rocks when you are doing cliff sides like this, because otherwise it gives it this way too formal aspect to the... Oh, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to go for it. I'm going to just have to lay up. This heavy rough's just too brutal. I'm just going to go straight at the tree. Trees are 50% air.
Fetched up in the branches here.
Proven by that.
Okay, let's get on to the green.
Alright, pretty basic green here. So you just... Looks like this is two basic shapes, almost, like from the course editor. It looks like this is a basic shape as well. I would avoid using basic shapes if this is the case. If not, you just build some that are fairly close. I never use this, the basic shapes in the game anymore. I mean, there's just so few of them, and everybody who designs knows what the basic shapes look like. For this green, not bad. I mean, there's not really anything I can complain about here. Maybe a little bit more character in this big old fat area right here. But other than that, I mean, you got a tier, you got a possible pinable area here, like this little slope coming off here. Maybe, I mean, as I said again, I don't like feeding people off into heavy rough, but I don't think it's too bad in this case right here. Ooh, underpowered that one. Really bad. Not gonna be too bad in the end, though.
31 feet to go. Right by the hole.
Oof.
Go, par putt. Well done.
Got her in there.
All right, that's gonna keep you right there at 4 under.
Ooh, I like this a lot. This tight tee shot opening up really large here. And we got a massive bunker right here, which I don't mind. I feel like it does need a little bit more character in this side over here. You see how you've got this big old finger here, and then you got like an attempted finger, an attempted one. I feel like if you would have brought more fingers into this green to give it a little bit more character, a little bit more shape, this would have been an awesome bunker. It is pretty cool the way it stands, but I just feel like there's too much big flat area where you could be bringing in fingers to make it really interesting and move. But overall, I like the idea of it. Now, I will say this green looks massive, like huge. This is what I was talking about earlier with keep your green sizes consistent. I mean, holy crap. This is unbelievable. This almost feels like a mistake with how big it is. I mean, just look at the size of this thing. Wow. I mean, there's just a lot going on here, to be honest. Yeah, you can play to specific areas. Looks like you got a pin here, maybe a pin up here, pins down here, maybe. But this green is just too big. Way too big. And then I was kind of looking at this from the tee box. It feels like you just got this depression here for a bunker, but you never actually put a bunker in it. Which, I mean, pop bunkers aren't bad. It's kind of a little off, though. I mean, at the same time, as I was saying with this right here, when you have edges feeding off like this, I feel like if you would have put fairway coming down into here, this is almost exactly what I was talking about. Like, when you have people feed off the green, you want them to feed down into a fairway low. Like, feed those shots down into here. So when somebody hits, it rolls off, runs down some fairway into some fairway down here, and it just sits. So you have a nice chip up into the green. But in terms of this green, I'm not going to say too much about this one. I mean, it's just too big. I mean, if I start talking about the contours in here, I mean, it's just a big green. I feel like this one needs to kind of be redone from scratch. And it's just way too big for the course. I mean, as I said, you've got greens literally a fifth of this size of this green. I mean, that's just something you're almost never going to see in the real world. And coming from building golf courses in the real world, too, I mean, this thing would be an insanely expensive green. I mean, this is like a practice area green, like a massive practice area green. Like, you could have pin, like pins all over the thing to be chipping and putting to and up by the clubhouse.
Could be a good one. And this is your look at par.
All right, on to 15. And I don't get paid too much attention to it, but you've got to stagger your tee boxes. Let's actually take a look at this scorecard real quick to see how close these tee boxes are. So yeah, you see this right here. This is way, way too close. You've only got 200 yards of difference in your tee boxes. You want 300 yards of difference when you go down a tee box. So this is 290. Oh, let's go ahead and round up and say 7,000. You want this 6,700. You want this 6,400. That's more or less how you want to have it. That's how they more or less do it in the real world, anywhere from like 300 to 500, sometimes as low as 200 depending on the course. But when you have tee boxes like this, it just, there's no advantage to going up on a tee. I mean, there's no women's tees, there's no elderly tees, there's no, I mean, I'm on the pro tee right now, but there's no variation to the course. When you add multiple tee boxes into your course, it offers multiple ways to play your course. Like, one of my favorite things to do when I find a course that I really like is go play it from a tee up or 2 tees up, because you get a whole new look at the course, a whole new play of the course when you move up tee boxes. And that's just something you're losing here with this simplistic tee box design. I mean, at this point, if you're going to have these other tees, you might as well have just had 1 tee out here. I mean, there's really no reason for these other 2 tee boxes to be here. Alright, moving up to this hole. I feel like these bunkers are a little bit too hidden. I feel like making them a little bit more visual from the tee would help. This one up here is just a completely blind bunker. I mean, you could have lowered this whole area down here, made it like a swell, so you could actually see up to this bunker right here, which is realistically probably one of the only bunkers that players are going to end up hitting into on this hole. I mean, you might hit a stray shot over into this one, but I feel like most people are going to be taking this play line up here, straddling this bunker. And I mean, the chances of you hitting into this are just very slim, unless you're either underpowered or the wind is right in your face. And I mean, it's also, I'll talk about this when we get up a little closer, but I think that fairway movement is just very uncharacteristic of your course and kind of out of left field. Like, it doesn't really fit with everything else that we've seen so far. And I feel like the only reason you did this is because of the water body. But I'm not... Actually, no, you didn't have to do that. Actually, I really don't know why you put those little bumps and slopes into here. They're just not really needed. I mean, if you would have stuff like this on the other part of the course, these little hills like this, I would say this is perfectly okay. But just to have it on this one random part of the course, it just kind of no reason. I do like this. This looks fairly similar. I think I'm not going to say for sure, but I think you got this from my video on how to build retaining walls. Because you've got the little sloped thing that not a lot of people do, but it looks like you use a different object. I use picnic tables for this. It looks like you might have used a different object, but I can't really tell 100%. Actually, come on. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which. This looks almost like a bridge. Yeah, but nice. I definitely do like this new rock wall. I'm gonna have to look at this wall and play with it a little bit. It's very visually pleasing. Yeah, beautiful little shot right here. I really like this wall combined with the river right here, or maybe it's just a little lake. Again, tiny green here. I mean, compared to the last green, as I said, the last green we were on was probably 5 to 7, 8 times as large. I do like these bunkers that you've done on the course, where it's the fairway, light rough into heavy rough into bunker. The one thing I will say is make sure you're keeping your light rough consistent width. You see how that light rough comes around, and then it squeezes right here kind of out of nowhere. You want to have that consistent width just to keep that consistency up. Other than that, I mean, there's not much you can really say about this green. It's just a tiny green with 2 tiers on it, which I feel like we've seen quite a few tiny greens with 2 tiers on it at this point. Maybe add a little bit more character into it, make them a little bit more variety coming in. Really don't mind the movements we've got. I feel like this is suffering from the too flat down here, though. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more consistent. Like, you see how this is all consistently moving this way? Keep all of this consistently moving this way so you don't get those phantom breaks. Whoop. Don't think I adjusted enough for the wind. Not too bad, though.
That'll do for the approach.
Ooh, just barely.
All right, 3 feet to the cup. Okay, careful of the headwind out there.
Pretty flat shot right here. Flat shots aren't bad. Got a bottleneck here, no bunkers. Is this our no bunker hole? No, we got one up here. Not bad. This is kind of what I was saying earlier with your fairways are just a little too flat, a little too easy. I mean, there's not really a whole bunch going on in your fairways. You got some design like bottlenecks and heroic shots, but there's really no actual movement going on with the fairways. This green right here, not too bad. I don't prefer the movements that's going on. I don't like this whole yellow that's happening right here. I feel like, I mean, you can put a flag up here, but it's kind of awkward, and you got a little feed off down here that I have said before I'm not too big of a fan of. In terms of the rest of it, I don't really mind the rest of it. Just feels a little too bland almost. I guess bland isn't really the right word. It feels a little too out of place, some of these slopes. Ah, hell, that's not even the right word. I don't mind these two parts of the green over here. I just don't really like this right here that's going on. I mean, this and then this. And I mean, you might be able to put a pin up here, but it's a scary, scary pin if you do. Alright, go up club.
This one's gonna need to bite. Well, unfortunate. That's gonna get counted as a missed green.
Yes, John, I know it's a missed green. Again, I'll say make sure these rocks are depressed a little more. You don't really want them blocking any visuals at all. You want these really, really low. Like I'm talking barely sticking out of the ground low for the most part. Especially ones that are directly in line of play like that. Alright. See, I mean, this is what I was talking about. I mean, we just got all the tee boxes on one tee. I mean, if you would have had some more tees here and here, you wouldn't have this humongous empty area, the same as the last hole. I mean, you've just got these huge empty areas with no character, nothing going on here. Adding those tee boxes in really does add a lot to your course. I mean, it doesn't feel like it is when you're just putting in two squares up here and then flattening them, but it does. It adds some characteristic. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I would have really loved to see a thin little bit of fairway up here. That would have been really cool. But just looking at the hole, this is something I like. This is a harder fairway. You see how this is raised and it's kicking all my shots down to here on this cut corner, and over here. I mean, this is kind of a little bit harder of a fairway that I was talking about. Kind of what you're missing. I mean, a lot of your fairways are just a little bit too flat. But I feel like this one serves its purpose very well. And I'm going to kick all the way through now into that heavy, which is kind of what you want. You want to have it be very difficult. Again, I mean, keep your greens consistent. I mean, this is just way too big. I'm really not going to say too much about this because, I mean, this is just too big of a green. Other than that, I mean, I could talk about the contours inside the green all day, but if the shape and size is wrong, then that's kind of where you need to start. Like, I feel like out of everything, ooh, wow, that's on a yellow. I mean, it's a slight yellow, not a big yellow, but that's still a yellow. Usually you want to avoid being on that big of slopes like that, but it happens sometimes. Alright, 18, little par 3 right back at the clubhouse. Ooh, if you are long, you are dead here. This is a nice green. I mean, it's a small green again, like we've seen before. It's actually a 3-tier instead of a 2-tier this time, which is nice to have some variety. I like the bunker in the front a lot. I like the one on the left. Very nice little back ridge on it to catch any shots coming long. I think this is a very nice green. I mean, a pin up here is nice. I mean, with this little feeder hill coming in just a little bit. I mean, this is just a nice hole. Very simple little finisher too, nothing too crazy. That's a good hole. Like that one. We'll say with cliff sides, when you get cliff sides too close, I mean, I'm probably in one of the only spots for it. You see how it kills all the grass? You see there's no actual grass here? If you come in here with your heavy rough tool and just do a line right here, it'll keep this rough all the way around so you don't get this really bare looking area right here.
Ooh, nice little on that one.
Alright, coming on down to the ends.
A par putt.
What did we finish with, John? What do we have out here?
Today you wound up at 4 under par.
4 under.
And with that, I'm gonna.
Alright, so overall with the course, a few key things I would say. Make sure you keep your green sizes consistent. You need to have all your greens be about the same size, fairly close. So maybe you have one larger one here, one smaller one here, but not super large, not super small, how we've had on this course. I mean, they're just way too drastically different. I will say with your rocks, make sure you're planting up the cliff sides, at least the visible cliff sides. With your grass, you don't need to do 3 types of grass, and make sure you're using grass that can be seen from a long ways away. Your fairways need a little bit more movement in them. Just a little bit. I mean, they're just a little too flat. I mean, there's just not a lot going on. If you pretty much hit it anywhere in the fairway, you're fine for the most part. Your greens, as I said, same consistent. Keep the green sizes the same. But the other thing, tees. Make sure you have those extra tees. Having more tees, even if 99% of the time players aren't going to play them, having those tees is a very good visual thing to have. I mean, you go play any course in the back tees, you're going to be staring at 4 or 5 tee boxes in front of you. Just make sure you keep that in mind. Other than that, really enjoyable course. I mean, I loved the looks out here. Very beautiful. I mean, there's not a whole bunch to complain about other than the little things that I've been nitpicking. I mean, you obviously seem like a very good designer. Seems like you got some courses under your belt at this point to be designing a course as nice as this. Other than that, I mean, keep up the good work, man. I mean, you got some potential right here coming in with these nice courses. Also, guys, I mean, if you guys have any other courses, as I've said before, drop them in the comments. I'll give them a try. As I said, I'm a little behind. Been doing a lot of work, so I haven't really been able to get on and record, and much less even design my own course that I've been working on for 4 or 5 months at this point. But do look forward to that course coming out here probably in the next 2 or 3. I'm getting closer to the end. I've finished designing all 18 holes, so now it's just a matter of decorating. That's all I have left, and that course will be out. Alright, thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.